part of the sermon is the Sermon on the Mount, and also be the salt of what you are, the salt of your lamp. Let us be salty. Okay, well, our beautiful Linda has died how long ago? For quite a while. And it wasn't, this growth was not here. We couldn't even touch it past this, our handle. And the flowers right here are blooming, and they should be dead. Because Linda's been dead for quite a while now, but yet it's growing, isn't it? It's growing, even the flowers aren't dead. These aren't plastic, by the way. Well, they are plastic, forgive me. They're plastic, but the plant's not plastic. This is alive. This is beautiful, it's alive, and it's growing. These are not plastic. These are real, and they're not dead. I'd say this plant is being what it is. Would you say that? Everybody in the congregation, the plant is just a plant? It's being real, isn't it? Okay. Sometimes we lose our salt. What I'm trying to say, being the lamp of the world, be the salt of the world, or what the sermon's going to be on, is like this plant. We're going to get to it, why it is plant. First of all, before we get into the sermon of being a salt, the Sermon on the Mount is what he's referring to as being yourself. Be the salt of who you are, be what you want to be. And we're going to go into the Beatitudes. Okay? When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up to the mountain, and this is in St. Matthew's chapter 5 and in verse 1. When Jesus saw the crowds, he was sat down, and his disciples grew near to him. And he opened his mouth and taught them. He was saying, "Blessed those are humble, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." And this is in the Lamsa Bible. And the Lamsa Bible is a translation of what Jesus was speaking in his time frame of what the words would be and what they meant. Because sometimes the words in the whole, the King James wasn't what the Arabic language would mean. So I'm doing the Lamsa Bible because the Lamsa Bible is what Jesus was saying in the meanings of Jesus' time frame. So that's why we're doing it. "Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed those are meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who are hunger and thirst for justice, for they shall be well satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they have mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for the sake of justice, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those when men are reproached you and persecute you and speak against you and every kind of evil falsify you, that you are forsaken. Then be glad and rejoice, for your renewing increase in heaven, for it is this very manner they persecute the prophets who were before you. Indeed," this is my sermon, "indeed you, the salt of the earth. But if the salt should lose its savor, with what could be salted, it would not be worth anything but be thrown outside to be trampled down by men. But indeed you are the light of the world. A city that is built upon a mountain cannot be hidden. Nor the light of a lamp should put under a basket, but the lamp stand, but it should to give light so all can see in the house." That's what I wanted to get at, because what he's trying to say is like this plant I was talking to you about. That plant has sat there and was being real. And you're saying, well, what do you mean real? Well, the plant is real. It's being just. God don't want you to be anything false. He wants you to be yourself, first of all. And it says here in St. Matthew's, is that we started out with the Sermon of the Mount, and it says, "Blessed," made his mouth be open and taught them to say, "Blessed are humble." He wants you to be you. He wants you to understand how important that you are. He wants you to have your highest standards of what you are and how you conduct yourselves. I can sit up here and conduct myself in a weak manner, but you wouldn't really, if I was a reverend that says, well, I think maybe you should not hide your light under a basket. But if I say, it says in the Bible, you should not hide your light under that basket. Be the light of Christ to what you are. Am I conducting myself in that manner of where it needs to be at? And the truth of me, I am, because I am the light bearer. If I'm wishy-washy, I am not conducting myself in the right manner. So what he's saying to you in this Sermon on the Mount in St. Matthew's, he's telling you to conduct yourself as being proud, being the light bearer that you are. Don't be wishy-washy. Say what you mean and proclaim it. And he taught us this by the Beatitudes of being humble. And he says, blessed are humble, for they are the kingdom of heaven. We know if you are boisterous or proud, what's it like then? Do you get believed in as much? After a while, people might believe you at first, but after a while, if you continue to read it, they're going to think you're full of baloney, right? And then are they going to believe you? No. Are you conducting yourself in that right measure, being the salt of the earth? You are not. I like this one. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. That's probably one of my favorite sayings, because they're the ones, the innocents, the children that get trampled on, or they don't, or the people that don't hide their light. Their light is bright, but they let somebody go forth in front of them to be stronger. Have you ever run into a person that has done that? They're conducting self in a beautiful measure because they know their light, but yet the meek ones, like a child, come forth. Like a child says, Grandma, ring, 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 and I've got a toy telephone, and I say to that child, but Grandma, answer that phone. But surely I'm going to answer that phone by saying, hello, even though there's nobody on the line. I'm not going to tell that child that phone call is not real. When that child comes up to me being meek, and I can take that as an example I'm trying to show you. Ring, 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 Grandma, it's for you. What am I going to do? I'm going to answer that phone and say, hello. Yes, Grandma understands that. Thank you, Madison. Thank you, Peyton. Thank you, grandbabies, for pointing that out to me. I will take care of that. Or, Grandma, can't you hear them on the other line? Yes, I can. I think the children are the most beautiful people, and that they shall inherit the earth, and that's true, isn't it? How we conduct ourselves, we have like a different, and it says turn our cheeks, and sometimes we don't conduct ourselves very well being the salt of the earth by turning our cheeks. We think we have to set and we have to be right. Well, again, then we go back to our Sermon on the Mount here in St. Matthew 5. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall call the sons of God. Yes, we can take certain things that we need to fight on, but then there's certain things we have to let go of. And I find myself, as I grow older, again, I say this, as I conduct myself as the salt of the earth, I understand that. Excuse me, just for a second, please. Forgive me. I conduct myself and I rise. Then I find out what's more important in life. Do I really want to fight for that, or in my maturity, as how I conduct myself as a salt of the earth, or am I showing the best interest? Do I really need to understand to prove myself right, or shall I just let them say, you're right, have them their way? I know what's right. God knows what's right. It's right for me. They may not have learned that lesson yet. Let them be right for themselves for that until they get to my level, or I get to their levels. Blessed are those who are peacemakers, for they are beautiful people. And it says there's two roads, as we say that sometimes in our lives. Don't we say that? There's two roads that we can go by. One of them can lead us to destruction, or the narrow one sometimes can lead us just to be in life. You know, you always say that when you're a child, you hear them stories that God says, well, there's going to be two paths in front of you. You ever heard that as a child? My grandmother will always tell me that. Whatever you choose your path, if you're a good person, then you're going to be on the right path. If you're a bad person, then you're going to be on the bad path. So when you cross over, you ever heard that when you're a child, that your understanding about God, the aspect of God, when you first heard the stories, well, you got two roads ahead of you. And one may be really bad, and you don't want to go down that path. And one's really lighted, and it's all perfect. You want to go down that path. Well, that's true. That's how we put out in life. It's clear to you. And then we're treating that as a child. to make our wisdom and instillments of what we believe in our hearts. It says, blessed are those who are merciful, they shall be in mercy. Blessed are impure in heart, for they shall see the God. So that path I'm talking about, if you want to lead down it, or the narrow, or whatever path, the darker path. As a child, we start learning that. But yes, as a teenager and as an adult, we forget about that. But it's still the truth. The path is still there. It's how you choose it. Now, when I say path, it could be the negativity aspect of mentally cleaning out your mental clutter. As a spiritualist, we believe that we also know there's negative and there's positive. So what we want to do is we want to stay on that positive light, being a lamp, not the negative path. Okay? Or the negative thought patterns that we have in our mind that we need to wash out. The clarity of that. The Bible tells us we are the salt of the earth. We know that Morton, the store, did not existed back then, but they're trying to say you have to have salt in you now to survive in health purposes. We're finding out scientifically and also through physicians, if you don't have enough salt in your body, that we know that we can catch diseases or whatever. So you have to be a salt within inside yourself. And what the salt is also is the light you. Being how you conduct yourself is being a salt bearer or the white light bearer. And it says his fathers changed the world and they have pure salt. And when you have pure salt, you have pure light. You're conducting yourself right. So these are ground rules, what he says with the Beatitudes of St. Matthew's. Again, it says, blessed are those who are persecuted for the sake of justice, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So what you're going through right now in your tribulations or whatever you're finding out, and that could be the day that you wake up. It's not just because of injustice. That you could also take it as a learning lesson every day as you wake up. Injustice, because you do get injustice every day. Something don't go right with you. And it don't have to be havoc like injustice where you're persecuted. Jesus and God is talking about that plus major injustices, but he's also talking about the injustice that you have that people don't agree with you. Maybe you have a spouse that don't agree with you that day and you're not on the same track and you're having problems and you're arguing. Be the salt of that earth by, am I right or can I not be right? Should I listen to my wife or should I not listen to my wife? That's what he's referring to, be the salt of that. It's not just the injustice of injustice where you have to go through persecution of, like would say the injustice would be the one that got, geez, where's my mind at? Forgive me. The guy that got beheaded, help me out here. That he had his head on the plate and the camel through the eye. And John the Baptist, forgive me, John the Baptist, he got persecuted. He should inherit the earth, like what I was talking about. That's major. But let's go with our everyday life of being you, the salt of the earth. Every day we wake up, the injustice that we do or create can be the same way. Blessed are the men who reproach and prosecute you and speak against you. That's what I'm referring to. Some people talk behind your back, don't they? Some people talk in front of you or talking behind your back. You being the salty earth, and what is God's trying to say, is don't hide your light, but be insensitive and work and be in your conduct of what you are as a salt bearer. Don't be the salty of the earth. Be real. Conduct yourself as such. Be the true light of you. Don't hide it under a basket. But yet, know when you have to make it bright or when you have to dim it a little bit. That's why I want to be you as being light bearers. Can you be humble? Can you have merciful and be mercy and have mercy? Can you rejoice in the words of heaven and understand when somebody needs it and when they don't? Can I be humble? For example, today, what happened today, instead of having the two people come into chapel and leaving as a reverend, I could have said, oh, goodness gracious, we didn't need them, and then persecute them different ways. We did not do that. I was conducting myself as the salt of the earth by saying a prayer, let them find their light that they need to be in. But thank you for sending them our way because it is working. what was I doing? I was practicing being the salt of the earth, conducting myself the proper way, like the Beatitudes of St. Matthew. In our everyday lives, it's just not overbearing of what it means. If you can take that concept in the mental ability and understand that that's our everyday life, what a foundation that he has given us to do as such. And then it goes, blessed are you, or when we approach and persecute you, speak against every kind of evil, falsely accusing you. How many times have you woke up when you are misunderstood? They're falsely accusing you. Instead of saying, let it go. It's between them. I'm going to stand strong in my faith. It's what God and I think about. It don't matter what they think of me no more. When you get to that salt of the earth and you being the salt bearer and being in your own state, you're not letting that salt be washed away or letting men trample it. And it says it here where it says, you are indeed the salt of the earth, but if the salt shall lose its savor, with what could be salted, it wouldn't be worth anything. It would be thrown outside and trampled on. Well, that's what it is. If you stand firm in that light, you're taking the salt. You are being the salt of the earth by standing strong. And salt is not going to be washed about. So if you take that salt and say, well, it's between me, my Father, the God, whoever God may be to you, and I'm standing strong, it's not being trampled or washed away. You are still the salt. The only time that it gets washed away is when you let those emotions or anything else wash it away, because with salt you have to have water, don't you, to wash it away? Then it can be trampled. Well, the water could be the emotions. If I let that emotions wash away my salt, then I'm not going to stand in the light of Christ. I have to be humbled. So these are wisdoms I'm living you. These attitudes is something that we need to learn. Be humble. Be different things. You take them. Now, you can work on these things in your mental cabinets for a long time. But just to understand that you could do this, then don't let your salt get washed away. And do not ever let your salt or your light fall under a burning bachelor, because it's going to catch on fire. Don't be so boisterous, too bright. Have a happy medium where it needs to be at. Be humble. And these are good lessons for you to be understanding of what you need, how to let your light shine. So if you think of it this way, conduct yourself in the positive manner, and then think about it before you speak. The emotions attached to it. Stay firm, but yet know your battle. Choose your battle, and be wise about it. But you know what? Maybe we can say something better. Think before we speak. Maybe the arrows of what we were talking about, the two roads that we need to go down to as a child when we listen to that, the negative or positive aspects. Maybe we need to stop and think beforehand. I know I thought about things during this conference that we had, what I needed to work on, and some things that just annoyed me, but yet I looked at all the people in that crowd and said, what injustice, if I did have injustice, and I did, what good would that be? Look at all these people. Do you want growth, or do you want to be right? No. I let it go. I want growth. I want the people. And I looked at the people and thought how much you could have havoc on their lives. Nope, let it go. The important part of that, what I learned, was to have growth. The important part of that is to have unity. The important part of that was just to work together. It don't matter if I'm right or wrong. Let it go. So every day I practice that beatitude of what Jesus was saying here in the Lamsa Bible, the Beatitudes. Blessed are those. He opened his mouth and taught him to say, and he taught us to be humble. He taught me to be merciful. He taught me to be the salt of the earth. And he also taught me how to conduct myself in that measure. And I would say that one of the other Beatitudes that I would like to say to you is that we just read off is also stop. Be thoughtful and stop before you think, before you hurt somebody else's feelings. Also, another beatitude for a spiritualist, you might want to say, look at the individual's heart and aura, and does that person's light need to be more, shine more than you? You might be, as a reverend, I'm supposed to be merciful. and let my light dim a little bit so I can go up to my congregation and raise them up. Do you understand what I'm saying now? That's my job. I'm supposed to be the light of the world, just like you are. But as a reverend, I'm supposed to also, like I said, I'm not supposed to have no political views. I'm supposed to be neutral. See? That's the Beatitudes that we're being taught. But I'm not supposed to bright it too bright. Because what if my light was there and I said to vote to whoever it was? I have now corroded somebody's intellectual mind concept and told them my opinion. And they may be not of their own mind. They might be a leader. Instead of a leader, they might be a follower. Well, Reverend Betty says it, so it is. No. I am the light of the world. I let you make your own mind up as a spiritualist. You're the light. Make your own mind up. I'm just there to bring it, to give you energy. With the light in the salt of the earth, you have to have air, don't you? Be the air. Don't distinguish the light, because without air, it goes away, the light does. But conduct yourself as such. And that's what he's trying to say, the Beatitudes. He says this, but yet conduct yourself the way it needs to be. Draw people around you. Let them have faith inside you. Let you be real. Let you be authentic. Like this plant here that grew. It was being real. It grew. You're real. Grow. Conduct yourself in a positive measure. Don't be hypocrites. And then, like the hypocrites in Matthew 23, 25 and 28, it says how superficial they were when the Pharisee says that their temples were built in stones and beautiful things, but yet inside the temple, it was not the salt of the earth. The salt was already washed off. Because Jesus says to them, even though you are dressed in fine garbs and show yourself the way you are, being prideful and breeding indentations that you could not understand what I was, they would walk around, pump themselves up because they were beautiful. Their synagogues were beautiful, but inside it was not. The salt was already washed away. They did not conduct themselves in the proper manner they needed to be. Do you see what I'm saying now? Even the Pharisees were hypocrites. Don't be that way. Be the salt of the earth where you can actually raise each other up. As we come here in the unity, it's to raise each other in unity. We did that here. By understanding one candle alone, but all of us together that had the same visions, that has the same promise, could be there and raise it up even better and grander. So what I'm trying to say, be the salt, be real, and conduct yourself. And then when you have in doubt if you're doing something right, go back to the Beatitudes in St. Matthew 5 and understand the betterment. And when you make your synagogue, which is the house that you have, the garb that you're not going to be a hypocrite like the Pharisees, you're going to be the real, the salt of the earth. The salt of the earth is so better. Again, when I end this, and there's a few of them that I like to say to you, and one of them it says, blessed are those humble, for theirs shall inherit the kingdom of heaven. And when you're not frightful, or when you're doing something better for somebody else, don't they make you feel better? I know it takes, when I have a problem, instead of focusing on me, if I focus on somebody else, it takes my problem away and it makes me feel better. You know why? I'm not focused on me. I'm focusing on somebody else that can be lifted up. Isn't that true? How many people can say that? When you can take away yourself and you put somebody else, isn't it better to heal somebody better than yourself? I'm not saying that you can't be the salt of yourself, where you have to have the righteous indignation of yourself, and you do need that to a point. You always can't underestimate that. You can't hide it under the lamp or the Bishop Ascol. But you can still be the light. It depends how much air you have coming to it to make it grander or softer. Hopefully you would understand that, and that's the sermon today. And I bless each and every one of you. God bless the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thank you.